Namaskar, Jai Hind, Jai Bharat, and welcome to Dev Talks. This is Aadi Achint. I have with me Mr. Sai once again from Zupa Drone. Sir, Namaskar, welcome to the show.
Namaskar.
With the talk, of basically anti-drone systems which are on right now, a lot of focus has been there in the world for that because of the war in Iran. What do we have? Do we have something like that in India? That's one moot question. So let's find out, sir.
Good morning to you all. Adi, thanks for getting me over on the show once again. Well, the in our case also, like in the case of the Middle East, it is an evolving system. We learned it earlier in Operation Sindoor, about a year ahead of them. But it is a situation that is evolving. There are positive movements towards it. And I think one of the areas that, one of the realizations that has come about in this war is the fact that the the counter drone and the drone is a kind of a is a kind of a a kind of a rat race that we are all in, whether it be as one evolves, the other kind of finds a solution, and then you again go back to finding a solution that a newer version for the drone. But at the end of we have to understand one point is that the drones will always be ahead of the counter drone because that is one thing that is very obvious now. And I see that this is a realization that all countries are now coming up to, and I think we will start finding a lot more of solutions coming in India. And we are specifically also working on, interceptor drones. In fact, we have our Ajit drone, for which we already have the interceptor as a software layer. But our approach is more towards seeing that it is a software layer that will be there on top of the hardware, so that we can keep pace with the changes that are happening in the drone tech. So that essentially is what we are looking at. Now, for example, if you look at, say, Shahid is something which everybody has been talking about. And everybody has been talking about the price of the Shahid. But today, the reality is that Shahid has a solution already in place, but that is restricted today in Ukraine, and Ukraine fighting the war is also using its own, set of Shahids. So is set a set of interceptors that are against Shahid. So that will take a little bit of time, coming into the Middle East and deploying in the Middle East.
That is there, sir. Now, one of the things that the anti-drone systems are, anti-drone drones, as you were saying, that's something which is, I would personally say the Ukrainians have actually done pretty well in this particular regard. They've been able to come up with new systems and they've been able to come up with new procedures, which include, sound detection, which include radar detection, which includes, a whole lot of other systems which are able to, give them prior intimation as to of different types of and different sizes of drones. Nowadays, drones are made of different materials. Um, I believe somebody also used wooden drones, so which are very difficult to detect on radar.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So, are we also coming up? Are you also coming up with systems like that, which are sound detection to the entire spectrum, where one early detection can be done, and of course interception can be done, sir?
See, I think as far as anti-drones that use interceptor drones are concerned, it is a kind of a layered approach that has to be there, which consists of sensors which pick it up. So today it is the sound of the Shahid that people are able to distinguish from the rest of it. So now they're using sound sensors. But now if you see, the Iranians have already started deploying the Shahid 101, which is a very different drone in terms of both its shape profile as well as it's an electric motor. So it's not going to produce the same sound that the Shahid, the legacy Shahids did. Now, the Russians have also started deploying the Molniya drones in the Ukrainian sector. The Molniya is also got certain very interest. It's got a very interesting feature where the uplink to command the drone is not traceable in terms of its frequency, which probably means that the uplink and the downlink are operating in two very different spectrums of the radio band. So thereby, once you're tracking one, you couldn't track the other within the same band. So I think these are all kind of solutions that are coming up in both in drones and counter drones. And as I'd said earlier, and in my earlier talk as well, what is critical is the electronics that is there inside the drone, and that the autopilot system, the electronic, wireless systems, the communication systems, the softwares that are operating in that, within the AI within that, these are the things that scale. Now, if you look at the Shahid per se, now the Russians first used Shahid in 2022, and they still continue to use the same Shahid in terms of external shape. But internally, the Shahid has evolved to a point where today it is, it is kind of leading the counter drone systems. So now, if you look at the Shahid, is I would say the Shahid sound system, sound based detection is now history. So most of the people would already have found, Ukrainians have found solutions for that, and I'm sure others will also find solutions for that. So it is going to be something different that will come up now next. And as I told you, the Russian communication system is the next thing that is a challenge for the Ukrainians. But the Ukrainians now are fighting a war, and they've been fighting so for the last 4 or 5 years. So I think they've got used to doing R&D on the edge, which is something countries have to get used to. And that's also one area. One area why the electronics become so important is because every time the changes or the enhancements that happen will always happen on the software layers that are operating on the electronics. It will be there could be hardwares in terms of sensor and all that get different sensors that get integrated, but ultimately the detection factor and the action factor, both of these will be software driven, and that will be that stems in the autopilot. So that is why we are preferring rather to go in for the attack drones. We are looking at focusing on the interceptor type of drones, because I think the interceptor type of drones have a lot more applications, because as you would know, we've been getting hundreds of drones on a daily basis coming from Pakistan with drugs or small arms or whatever it is. So I think those are the ones that we'll have to start first looking at solving those kind of problems, and then automatically we'll start evolving problems for the higher levels as well.
That's there, sir. Now, what do you think is the next generation in this game? Because now the Shahid type drones, which are of course quite a menace to the game, and that's something that we've seen. Uh, they are either targeted or just directed drones, which are just probably
Absolutely.
go this distance, go this far at this speed, and tuck, fall wherever you
Yes,
have to. It doesn't really matter.
absolutely.
It's just a harassment sort of this thing. And there are of course the directed drones which have the capability of looking at targets and doing precise attacks. There are two of these types, and both need to be dealt with. There are certain things that are just sent just to clog up the enemy's radar. So
Yeah.
what is the next step that you would be looking at as far as anti drone systems are concerned, sir?
See, I think we have to, when we talk about the Shahid, we have to understand its purpose. When you said that, the Shahid was a directed drone which went to a particular destination and did its job. Now, that those particular types of Shahids were specifically for overwhelming the, enemy's air defense systems and keeping them busy so that then you had opportunities to get in. So those that kind of thing will continue. There will be drones that will, kind of try to saturate the systems and keep the key, and there will be drones that will also act as decoys, for the enemy air defense, for the air defenses. And but I see that this will only escalate further into swarms and more AI-driven targeting and more precise targeting in terms of the in terms of where they need to do the damage. And those are the kind of, there will be specific assets that would be targeted. They would be targeted with swarms. In fact, in Operation Sindoor also we faced the swarms as well, and we did the, and if you see in terms of price, the Songar drones that were there were not very different from Shahid in terms of price. They were about the same 15,000 to $20,000 kind of setups that we had to face ourselves. And obviously, from a national defense perspective, we also had to address it the way it is being addressed today in the Middle East. But now, for going further, I think the game would be in the interceptor drones software capabilities to overwhelm the swarms that would be put in will be coming in large droves. So it is going to be a game of numbers on either side. And when it comes to that game of numbers, then it is also going to be a case of the economics of those numbers. That is also going to play a serious part in this. Now, I think gone are the days when you have going to be having one-to-one kind of one operator to one drone kind of scenario. You're going to be having one operator multi drones coming in, and you're going to be having highly autonomous drones coming in, things that are programmed and sent previously in swarms. Now the Shahids, as we said, was a one-way drone that was to a destination. You will have a swarm of drones possibly coming to a destination now, and so this game is going to up itself in terms of the technology and the software layers and the AI and the ML layers that are going to be there. So I think data in terms of drone profiles and drone types and drone the communications, all these things are going to be very, very critical.
One thing which is also, I mean, kind of a question that I've been actually having is that the next generation of drones will be also a little different. We've seen different materials being used which are radar resistant, which can operate in GPS denied environments, which can do all that, and it's not a simple airspace that you can just fly in and do whatever you want to and come back.
No, absolutely no.
There is a lot of electronic interference. There's a lot of signal interference which is done. So one towards the attack and two towards the defensive as well. How does one look at this particular situation, sir?
See, one of the things that we have to realize is that the radio frequency is a natural, resource which has its limitations in terms of the number of bands and whatever is available. It's not kind of endless resource that is there. It is a limited resource which is in terms of the various frequencies used. And as I mentioned now, the if you look into the Russian Molniya drones that are being used now by them, there you would find that the Ukrainians are having it cut out for them because they are able to get a hang of the downlink video frequency of the drone, but they are not able to get a hang of the uplink frequency which is commanding those drones. So that they are not able to figure out which it is. So it is being played on across frequency bands which possibly are very wide for anybody to track using the same kind of system. So I think there will be the major future play would be on use of this particular bandwidth of radio frequencies, the way it is used, and how exactly you are able to kind of communicate data on them. There could be, there would be certain AI that would come into place, machine learning that would come into place in terms of identifying the drones. Now, as that happens, there would be, kind of shapes and materials, as you said, which will emerge, which will be different from what we see today, which will kind of have their own properties in terms of being able to, being able to overcome the defensive systems. So it is going to be a play across various resources that are available all the way from radio frequency to materials to in fact if there is the I was reading some time back that now the some of the Russian drones have started using light to blind the Ukrainian
Counter drones.
counter drone, and thereby the blind the interceptor drones, thereby be able to overcome the AI factor in terms of recognition. So there is going to be a lot of these kind of issues that are going to be coming up, and those are all largely going to be coming up within the software layers and and the sensor layers of the drones. So it is going to be a lot of play would be on sensors and would be on software and would be on the wireless systems. And materials, of course, is going to be something that's going to be a critical factor.
Hmm.
So
Materials
you're going to
is
see a lot of evolution across various various parts as far facets as far as the drone is concerned. If you ask me frankly, this I would say this is just about started.
Hmm. So when you're saying material at the end, I would just ask you, what material are you talking about going into the future? I mean, wood is one,
We
plastics
have
are
seen
one.
plastics is there. Plastics is going to start playing a large part of it. Then
Yeah.
then
Fiber.
yeah, tell me.
Fiber, sir.
Yeah, fiber, plastics. It's all you might even start finding as people start looking to drive down the cost, you would also start finding things like molded plastics coming in, like the ABS and other kind of plastics coming in, which are resistant, of course, to radar and which also are cheap to make. But one thing that you're going to be seeing that is going to happen as far as the materials is concerned is that you will see a lot of off the shelf material that will be starting to get used. So rather than specialized materials that were there previously, whether you take it in aerospace or whether you take it in one of the other spaces, metals were a major source. Specialized metals were a major source, but now I think a lot of commercial grade material we'll start seeing it being deployed across various drones. We will see drones being produced in large numbers, and for that, the manufacturing processes will also have to be kind of uh, capable of handling those kind of volumes. So I think from a very specialized materials that we've seen till today in the use in defense, we'll be seeing a lot more of commercial stuff that is coming into the use in defense.
Hmm. They should be, I think, and I'm not a very technical person, sir, but I think next level materials should be something that we should be researching on, and how to counter that is something that I think a lot of people will be working on how to ensure that all that the entire spectrum is taken into consideration. For example, light glass, uh, you know, can be used. A whole lot of things can be. Of course,
Yeah,
it's dicey, but there is material which is available, which is hardened enough to actually take off with something and then go crash at something, because it's a kamikaze thing.
true,
It really
true.
doesn't matter that it is breakable.
Yeah,
So as long as it takes off, beyond that, if it breaks wherever it breaks, it doesn't really matter.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say that one of the main things apart from materials, see, materials is something where, as I told you, to keep the cost down, to keep the form factors in place, there would be some commercial material and off-the-shelf material and whatever is used in the civilian domain, be it for car bumpers or be it for plastics, all those things will start coming in terms of material. But I think where the real play would come in is in the electronic space, because I think that electronic space is something which is going to be the deciding factor. Because if you look at it, every 8 to 10 weeks, there is something new that comes up. Let's take, for example, we've seen the Shahid creating such a havoc in the Middle East now, but the Ukrainians already have a solution for it. And I think by the time India gets to that kind of a scenario, I think we would have also found ways to negate it quite effectively. The
Yeah.
current Shahids. So everything new that will come up, we'll have to keep pace with in terms of the technology layers. And I think that technology layers, the electronics, these are going to be very, very critical capabilities going forward. So I think what is going to really make a difference is ability to produce electronics in mass, ability to use commercial grade sensors, commercial electronics in mass, ability to use commercially available materials in mass, be it wood, be it plastics, be it glass, be it whatever. But as long as it is commercially available, it is low cost. That is going to be the factor that's going to be ruling it.
Yeah.
And I think those are the factors that are effectively going to determine the capabilities to handle drone warfare in future. And now, for example, as I was telling you, Ukrainians have already found a way of negating Shahid. So I would see maybe Shahid, the traditional Shahids, being less used in the Middle East now, and I would see newer versions of it, like the 101 or the Molnia, coming up into the game now, which there are no solutions currently in hand. So interception is going, and interceptor drones are going to be the future. because I think we've figured it out that missiles are not going to be very effective against these kind
mm,
of drones.
mm,
And with the cost going even further down as the volumes go up, we're going to be having to have, interceptor drones also costs will have to go down and volumes will have to go up. So I think interceptors are going to be the anti-drone solution of the future. And interceptor drones are, whether it be, rotary wing or fixed wing, it's going to be something that is going to have to be there. Every country would need to have its capabilities within that. And one of the other interesting shift also that we've seen is that if you see in the early parts of the Ukrainian war, everybody was talking about copters, the quadcopters and the
mm,
hexacopters
mm,
and things like that. But today, if you see, majority are talking about fixed wings, though the interceptor drones in copters is still there. So I think fixed wing capable of hitting deeper into the territories and at moving at higher speeds to knock out drones that are coming in. This is also going to be one of the shifts that we will see. The types of drones will also change.
hmm, hmm. And the use will also change. I mean, I guess that is also very, very important, because these are now, what we are seeing is these are being used as harassment weapons. At least in this war, of course, not every war is the same. Every battle is not the same. They're used as harassment weapons more than anything else. So just a last point. There is the engines is one thing for these kind of drones, is something which is been in discussion. Uh, a lot of people are saying, these are very light engines, that they don't need much. 150, 200 cc engines are more than enough for something like this. We've got ample. I mean, there are bikes in India which are using that engine. So it's not that difficult to do. And of course, with basic flight structure which can be found on those toy drones, it can control something like this. So what stops India from making huge quantities of these?
No, I think the realization is there that we can use those engines. See, till today, let us look at it from an Indian perspective. We really faced our first drone war really in Ops Sindhu when we saw the drones that were there coming from the other side. Now, till then, I think we've been, drones have been there, but they've been at the back of the mind kind of equipment. But I think post Ops Sindoor, the drones have come into the forefront, and there is realization that yes, this is something that we need to definitely deal with. And I think the other factor is now the current Iranian Gulf War is also showing that it is the case that it has got a lot of, drones have got a lot of harassment capability. They've got a capability to do a lot of damage disproportionate to their deployment costs. And so, with this realization, I think things should start moving faster than what they are currently. And as you very rightly said, we do have these engines. We have the original engine that is used by the Shahid is also some kind of
Scooter
a
engine.
two-wheeler to scooter kind of engine. So it used to be, in fact, they used to call it as a moped at one point of time. So it's possibly something like a 50 cc engine used on a TVS 50 or something like that. So
Yeah, so
those
I mean,
kind of things, we
there's
have
an
those
option.
capabilities.
Yeah, we have that.
Yeah,
Somebody
we
just
have
needs
that.
to.
So people will start adapting it, but I don't think till this particular war, I don't think the Shahed was we. I don't think it was perceived that India could have problems from drones like Shahed. But I think there are learnings from this war as well, and I think people within the forces also would have learned that such drones are a kind of a problem that they need to deal with. So I think now the adaptation will start. Now with this war, I think. Drone use in India and interceptor drone use as well as the attack drone use will all start moving.
Hmm,
But I would like to mention here one fact that I think one problem that needs to be solved is this regular daily drones that are coming in from Pakistan. We need to find a solution for that. And I think if we do find a solution for that and we start stopping it, that itself will start a kind of give a statement to the other side that yes, we have capabilities to stop it. The fact that you haven't been able to stop it for so many years does kind of say that, you know, that you might not be having the capabilities to do so. But I think we need to demonstrate. stopping those things to be as a demonstrator for for showing that we have the capability to stop drones of that kind as well.
That is there. So it's an interesting game, if I may say. And
Right.
if we
Yeah,
can,
it is an interesting game.
if we can convert these old scooties lying in junkyards into, you know, into plain simple drones, I think somebody needs to start doing it, because it's just the body
Yes,
that needs to be
definitely.
made. Engines are there, just take it to the local mechanic, get it fixed up, put it at the back and fly it. That's it.
Yeah, I think
Getting
those sort of things will start happening.
getting the gyro control is one of the easiest things. You can actually get it off the shelf nowadays, so it's not that difficult
Mm.
to do. So thank you, sir, for that. Of course, great insight,
Welcome.
and I hope people do listen to it. And of course, we somebody gets inspired and does something about it. And of course, I hope your drone company also does picks up some of this and comes up with a whole new generation of systems which can actually change India's outlook towards things. Thank you so much for the time.
We are working on that, and we are seeing interceptors to be something which we will definitely be focusing
Thank you, sir. And of course,
on. Welcome.
to the audience, please like, subscribe, and share this with your friends and families. And of course, if you can, support the channel. Check out the description for details. Namaskar, Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Namaskar. Jai Hind.